It's been a minute since we recorded. We skipped last week because of the wildly underwhelming card we had. We ended up actually we took a break, but we're recording so early this week that we have the same tough episode that we would have had, which I thought was kind of funny. And we'll talk about all that here in a minute. But Alex, I haven't gotten to talk to you for a week. How you been doing? Are you surviving?
Yeah, we're going strong. Um, it's been a bit of a slow week at work, but we got football coming up, so obviously very excited about that. Got a big card coming up this weekend as well. You got the Grayson McCall Coastal Carolina shirt on, so I know you're ready for football season too.
Dude, I'm just
Um,
trying to figure out what time I should start recording the football pod again, to be honest. But yes, football season. I was looking through, I was just like, what should I even be wearing for the podcast? And I saw it and I'm like, well, we're gonna have to do that, I think.
yeah, you put more thought in than I did. I rolled out of bed less than an hour ago. So
Yeah.
still on the morning coffee and coming to my senses a little bit, but we'll get there. We'll get there through the podcast and yeah. So everything's been going well. Just plugging away, man. Enjoying the last couple weeks of summer while we still have it. How about you, man?
About the same, to be honest. So I talked about possibly having the setup in here a little bit more upgraded, and like a little bit more decorated. Well, I've actually downgraded a little bit. Darian stole my chair, so I'm in her old one now, just because I was too lazy to move it. But I don't know. I think it's coming along pretty decent. Work's been all right. Kind of like you though, I'm needing a bit of an eye opener. I'm a little tired. The UFC actually just got an eye opener of a whopping lawsuit, and the judge in that just released like an 80-page docket about how he also believes that what the UFC has been doing was not cool by any means to its employees.
I cannot imagine. Well, first off, I guess I didn't know that this lawsuit was going on for over a year now,
Yeah.
which, shame on me. But I can't there's no justification for any fighter getting, even if they lose, leaving with 10K in their pocket
Yeah.
for how much they put their body on the line, for how, you know, limited this sort of career can be. Leaving for 10K after getting your head bashed in is just insanity, because now you have college football players with NIL making more money than professional UFC fighters who are fighting in the highest, in the most competitive promotion in the sport. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't understand it fully. I would say that if you were going to keep the 10 grand like just to appear, you should probably be paying for their camp.
Yeah,
Like it should be a
that's
straight 10K
without
to the
question.
fighter. Like I can kind of understand in a certain aspect if these guys are going to fight 3 times a year, and I mean that's still only 30K a year, but like it shouldn't be coming out of their fight purse, these camps, because they have to be trained to come to the octagon or else they're going to get, I mean, more than 30K in medical bills just on one fight. And it just, none of it really makes any sense. Like you're just expected to have a second job when it's like going to the NFL and having to work at a grocery store on the weekends. Like,
Exactly, but it's making it to the UFC is the equivalent of making it to the NFL or the NBA or the MLB, where the worst players are still making, you know, I want to say six figures at
yeah,
least.
the minimum's above 6 figures for a year. Even the practice squad guys, I think get 70 or
Yeah.
80K a year.
And it's not like the UFC is strapped for cash. They make a lot of money.
And ungodly, which I mean, they're going to be making a lot less now that Elon and Zuck cut them out of the equation. But
Yeah, well,
which
did you
we might
did
should
you
include
see?
that.
Well, I was gonna say it seems like that's not even gonna happen, because I guess Zuckerberg came out and was like, Elon's not taking this seriously, blah blah. Like he knows where to find me if he wants to like get real about this. It's
Didn't
like,
he just
all
book the
right,
Rome thing?
I don't think so. I think that was what was discussed, but it doesn't seem like To me, at least, from what I've seen on like Twitter and stuff, it doesn't seem like that's gonna happen anytime soon.
Ooh.
Bless you.
Thank you. Well, yeah, either way, there's still a ton of money coming into the company. And for those who are a bit more litigious minded than myself and Eisman might be, don't watch it right now, because obviously I wanted you to listen to us first. But MMA on Point, they made a video like talking, or they had talked to some of the experts in law that also were tied into MMA. They seem to think that this case could drag out for maybe a decade. So, because I mean, like that's just what high-powered lawyers do. You know, they keep kicking the can down the road until you've exhausted all your resources. So with this lawsuit, I don't even think that we're going to get like a real fix. But if you put enough bad publicity on it, you're going to start correcting stuff regardless. And then did you see the new rule changes that came out today?
I did see the rule changes. Yeah.
Like, I think
It's
that's a
what
good
if you
sign.
it's what illegal eye poke that draws blood or something. The cut man can come in during the stoppage, right?
Yes.
Something along those lines.
If I believe it's if you get a cut bad enough for them to have to pause for a second to like make sure you're functional, they can come in and repair it.
Okay. Yeah, and
I don't know that it has to be off anything illegal. I think there is just like cut time stoppages right now.
that's what both of them were, right?
Yes,
Along some lines, like if there is any sort of illegal strike, someone can come in, or the cut man can come in the octagon and tend to the fighter. I
correct.
think is
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
So,
no,
but
that
that's a
makes
good
total
sign.
sense to me.
But that's also a good sign from this lawsuit. Like I know it's obviously not directly tied into fighter pay, but better treatment for fighters is obviously part of that. And now they're at least giving that extra little bit to like protect these people.
Yeah,
So
truthfully, I think a lot of this is going to change once Dana's time at the helm is over, because I think he's so stuck in his ways and used to when it was 1998
yeah.
and fighters were still getting, I'm sure, 10 and 10 to show and win.
Well, and that's the main eventers.
Yeah,
They were like 20K.
like
Are you kidding me? Yeah, like it.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Well, yeah, Hunter Campbell will definitely be a bit more in the know and a bit more up to speed on all that, I think.
yeah, and it seems like he has. It seems like a lot less fighters have problems with Hunter or
Yeah,
Mick
about to say
than
the
they do
only
with Dana.
person I've ever seen kind of dislike Hunter was Diaz, but Diaz hates everybody.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
yeah.
that they just anybody in a suit, he immediately like wants to set them on fire. Um, but yeah, I don't figure it'll be Mick because isn't Mick pretty old?
I don't think so.
I know
He's
Hunter's like 40 something.
I think Mick is pretty close to Hunter's age from what I remember. I
Maybe
think they're both younger.
maybe Hunter just looks younger.
Yeah, but I mean Hunter is still higher up
Yeah. And
in
I think he'll just I think he's the probably the easiest bet
yeah.
to take that job, but either way it doesn't really matter right now. Dana is in charge and money has to get fixed somehow.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned Nate Diaz because he fought Jake Paul. Was it was the weekend before, right? Not this past weekend. It was the weekend before. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Nate Diaz in that fight with Jake Paul made more money than he did in his entire UFC career. And that's especially surprising because of how long Nate Diaz has been around
And
and
how many
been popular.
pay-per-views he's been a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
like that shouldn't have been possible.
just another kind of eye-popping statistic with how horrible the fighter pay is with the UFC, that one of their biggest stars, one of their biggest prolonged stars, made more money in one night fighting a YouTuber than he did fighting professionals for 15 plus years.
And it looks like the pay-per-view buys weren't even all that good.
Yeah,
I saw the TV pay-per-view buys were in like the like 80,000. But obviously total pay-per-view buys, I think it was like I think the numbers just got released and it was like half a mil or something like that. Nothing breaking the market. And it looks like he's gonna do it again because Jake Paul was talking about doing the MMA fight with him.
yeah, which at that point, why not? Like that one, you're gonna win. You're gonna make a bunch more money.
So okay,
Don't give me that
no,
face.
Nate will win, but I will
Okay.
say I think Jake Paul is a better suited MMA fighter than he is a boxer.
Well,
Because wasn't he, I know weren't both of them like all state wrestlers in high school? I know Logan was. I don't know if Jake
I
was.
don't know.
I know,
I don't know. Well, Logan's in WWE, so like that is believable for me. I have no idea though.
now Jake might have gotten too famous too early to have wrestled. Because at that point, like you're not getting out on the mat with kids whenever you've got like a brand. And he was
When you're working at Disney Channel,
right. Yeah, while he's doing the little drawing
yeah,
with the
the
stick.
wand.
Yeah. But I thought he was. I thought he was a wrestler too. And if that much is true, then I think he's probably got a better profile for MMA. Now he's going up against Nate Diaz, who's not a boxer, and will probably triangle choke him until his eyes pop out of his head.
Yeah. Oh, he's gonna hit the gi. Did you watch that fight or no?
Yeah. Well, I
Nate
watched a little bit of the highlights. I texted one of my buddies. I was like, I have no interest in watching Nate Diaz or Jake Paul versus UFC fighter on a pension plan, part 7. I'm over it.
So the nice thing about the scheduling of that fight that it was right after it happened right after the UFC card ended. So I transitioned from the main event of 2 weekends ago right into the Jake Paul Nate Diaz fight. And what happened was kind of what I was hoping for, which was that Nate didn't get knocked out.
He,
Um,
there was a moment where he definitely
well, he
did.
got knocked
Nate
down.
Diaz. Well, dude, he looked unconscious, and then he was like, "Oh wait," and then just woke back up.
Yeah, and he like never looked that in danger after the moment that he got knocked down. But when he locked in the guillotine, I was like, "Let's go, Nate! Like, let's go, baby!"
Just hangs his
That
legs
was
outside of the ropes, and just,
yeah,
yeah.
but
But it seems like we'll probably be watching him fight in PFL against Jake Paul. I really don't have full faith that'll happen, but somebody who did have like a legit chance to earn insane money in the PFL, Derrick Lewis, because everybody was talking about potentially going back to fight Francis Ngannou. We know that will not happen. 8-fight deal for Derrick Lewis.
I can't imagine he fights the whole contract out. I think this is just more you're going to be here for the rest of your career, and
Yeah,
that's great. Everyone loves Derrick Lewis.
of
By the
course.
way, I know I sent it to you on Twitter
That
earlier, but
commercial.
for those listening, I highly encourage you to go on YouTube and search Derrick Lewis Manscaped commercial.
It's a
You
thing.
will not be disappointed.
It is a glorious piece of art. I love Derek Lewis so much. But in the same breath, I think there's about 3 more fights for him that I would find genuinely entertaining in the UFC, and I would like him to retire.
Well, the only fights that are entertaining for him are the ones that are winnable. Like
Right.
like
Well,
it's not fighting guys like Pavlovich and Spivak. It's fighting guys at the bottom of the rankings or just outside the rankings like he did against DeLima. Like
Jalton would be
those are
fun.
the fun
That's
fights.
the Jalton would be a fun fight, and that's only because I think Jalton would be willing to stand with him.
Gilton isn't willing to stand with anyone. Did you like
Stephen Thompson.
Biggie Boy is the most comparable fighter to Derrick Lewis just in terms of size and the way they fight. And Gilton made him look like an amateur out there. He made it so quick and easy. I do not want to see that at all.
I feel like Jalton. I feel like this could absolutely be like a Wonder Boy versus Holland thing. Like I would love to see Derek Lewis for the next 3 or 4 fights, and this is not including Jalton, but I would love to see them feed Derek no names, like
Yeah.
legitimate, brought in, justify Derek Lewis and earn 30 grand from the fight and get sent home because I just want to see Derek Lewis do hilarious things for a couple more fights and then leave his gloves down on a win. I don't want to be sad. I don't want to watch Derek Lewis gas himself out and make me all upset.
No, that's what you should be doing. That's why when you said Gilton, I was like, I had zero interest because I know how that fight's gonna go.
I think
But
Charlton would have the kind of respect over it to be willing to stand with him, like Kevin did.
Now with the guy who, because Jailton's already a small heavyweight, not a guy who's got 25 pounds on you and can't wrestle. Like that is, I mean, fresh meat for Almeida. But I do think Biggie Boy would be a fun fight if they ran that back.
Yeah,
Or
but I
no,
think that
did they
would make
fight
no sense.
before or no? I
I
thought they
believe so,
did.
right?
Um, but that makes total sense to me.
I'm trying to, yeah, I'm just looking
Because
at
you know neither guy's gonna try and wrestle, and they both are, let's find the one punch to knock you out. But also you lose to the kind of top echelon of guys at heavyweight. Like that makes a ton of sense for me.
they haven't fought.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, let's do
So
that.
I love that. That would
That'd be
be, I
fun.
mean, you could headline a fight night with that hands down.
Easily. I mean, dude, you could headline just about anything with Derrick Lewis in order to get decent buys, but um
Yeah.
I or put it like at third on a pay-per-view, and I think people are tuning in like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, Derrick Lewis is going to be around the UFC till he retires. Let's hit the tough recap real quick.
Well,
Bulls fans,
we already know who's fighting because it's been
I
leaked.
about
So,
to say I have done really well this season to not see any spoilers.
but they added it to, like, it
Yeah,
was leaked all over Twitter that
yeah.
it was.
Well, I didn't see it on Twitter. Didn't like I completely avoided it, and then I went to go. I was doing my predictions while I had tough on, and saw it was Kurt Hollabaugh versus Austin Hubbard.
No.
I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Oh no.
I had done so well because, like, after on Tuesday nights, and then mostly through Wednesday, I'm not on Twitter all that much so that I don't get spoilers for it because I want it to be like an actual viewing, and I don't ever watch it live because it's not that important to me. Um, but this week I was like, okay, I'm pretty confident it'll be night, but Hollabaugh, like every fighter, every puncher's got a chance. And then managed to keep myself clean until I went to go do notes. Yeah.
That's so tough. So it's way different for me because I am constantly on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I get all the spoilers before I watch it. So I know who's moving on. Obviously still watch it, but this one obviously was a lot different because the spoiler happened before the episode.
Oh yeah. So
So
I never
like
somehow or another I literally fell right under the radar.
yeah, so it's going to be Austin Hubbard and Kurt Hollabaugh.
Yeah.
Um I'm excited to see what Kurt Hollabaugh does, I guess.
Yeah, we'll talk about the actual fight here in a minute. Um, because
I was talking about it in the
yeah.
episode,
Yeah,
but
oh yes, that was like a weird, like good showing for Kurt.
yeah.
Like, and we have talked a lot of like we have kind of disrespected Kurt Hollabaugh.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I thought he was getting bounced round one.
Yeah, and I mean he's just
And he
kind of
almost did.
Cinderella.
In fairness, he almost did.
Yeah, but he's just the kind of the Cinderella story right now. Now granted, I don't think that the UFC wants the Cinderella story to end with him winning tough, but
No.
we'll circle back to that. The last real thing I want to talk about from this episode, what did I watch with cold plunge trivia? What was that?
With what?
Cold plunge trivia?
Oh. Yeah, yeah.
What?
That was
Why
they
did we do
spent
that?
way too much time on that.
They just left him in a cold plunge for 30 minutes and they were answering
Yeah.
pretty simple UFC questions.
Yeah. That I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Just they're running with how little Connor is there, I'm sure they're just running out of ideas and want to like force him to stay. Force
Yeah.
force him to give them content.
Guess what, Connor? You can't go anywhere. You're in a cold plunge for 30 minutes. Have fun, buddy. And then Mike Chandler just being frigid like 2.5 minutes in. That was funny. I'll give him that. But I just like the whole time I was watching it, my brain felt numb. I was just like, what what are we doing? It's like, why are we
Have you done any of those like ice baths or no?
so I played a year of soccer in high school
Okay.
and I did that a couple times and I hate it.
Yeah, it sucks. So it was real. I used to like swim sometimes at the University of Michigan pool,
Yeah.
and they had like ice bath like in the area. So I would go in that sometimes after practice. And yeah, I mean, I would stay in there for like 30 seconds and then get out because it sucked.
It's
So
horrible.
keeping them in there that long is nuts.
I'm about to say
Nuts.
they're definitely more manly than we are, for just bearing through that.
Yeah. Well,
If we did cold plunge trivia on this podcast, it would be a 45-second episode.
yeah. It would be fun to do like something not cold plunge trivia, but like something along those lines where we're like under some sort of like stress or like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like a
Like,
hot ones type thing.
yeah,
Like you have to eat a
like
hotter
hot
wing every
ones.
time you get a
Yeah.
question wrong.
We'll have to find a day. Well, I know we talked about doing something where we were like drinking the whole time
Yeah.
and would play like a game and make our predictions.
Yeah, but we're not drinking, because we're on video and on YouTube now. We can't be having the
Listen, I'm sure people would enjoy it.
yeah. No, it
I
would
like
be
drinking too.
I'm saying for YouTube's thing, they don't necessarily love
Oh,
alcohol.
love people drunk on camera.
Yes.
That's fair enough. That we could go back to or we could just get rid of the video and just do the audio for that one.
There we
But
go. Well, I can post video to Spotify.
oh,
So if we wanted to keep the video aspect of it, we definitely could.
there you go. Well, listen, if anyone out there has ideas for us to make asses of ourselves on air, shoot, go for it. We got
If
we
there's
got a
any
comment
physical
section.
punishment aspects of it, I've got somebody in there that would definitely be willing to like punch me with a boxing glove or something.
You have someone here who also wants to punch you with a boxing glove too. So
Oh, you. I thought you were talking about somebody for work. I was like, what did I do?
But to get back on track, I think we've covered everything we need to we need to talk about. We need to catch up on outside of the actual fights.
Yeah.
So we'll begin with a victorious, to say the least, outing for me and Tatiana Suarez.
Huge.
Wow.
I would say for the most part, we all kind of lost that card because that card kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But Tatiana taking a name as big as Jessica Andrade and by submission.
And as quick as that submission was, like,
Yeah. I mean, it didn't take long at all. That was huge for your prospects, your rising stars. So what is do you know the total record for each of us right now? I think it's just 2-0 on both parts, isn't it?
yeah, I think Tatiana was my first fight because obviously I was supposed to have Umar.
Yeah.
Shavkat hasn't fought. Gilton hasn't fought since Biggie Boy. And my last one was who was my last one? It's definitely a big one.
Yeah. I just can't
Oh
think.
my god.
Oh, Muhammad Makayev.
That was yours.
No, I thought you
You
robbed
had
me.
Muhammad.
I thought you took Makayev from me.
No. You had Muhammad. I had those two guys. I had my first two picks were Umar and Shavkat.
Yeah.
Then I had Jailton. Then, oh my god, I'm actually kind of pissed off at myself for not remembering who my other one is.
Was nicknames draft? Nicknames draft. Oh, right there. Rising prospects draft. Let's scroll down. Okay, so you had Umar, Shavkat, Gilton, Bo, Nickel,
Bo. Okay.
and Tatiana. So you're 2-0 because Bo just fought.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
I had Aaron, who hasn't fought, Ilya 1-0, Muhammad hasn't fought, Brendan 2-0,
Yeah.
Jack Della Maddalena 3-0.
Yeah. Well, I think Muhammad's supposed to fight pretty soon, right? He has a fight with Tim Elliott coming up.
Aaron's supposed to fight soon.
Oh, right. She's fighting Tyler.
Yeah. So
That'll be that's gonna be
a chance to get to
fight.
5-0 pretty early with like every single one of my folks winning a fight.
Yeah.
So knock on wood. But yeah, that was a huge one for you. That was a statement, kind of like what I got with Ilya. And it was one of what I would say your least valuable pickups that you got.
Well, that's where this is where I'm getting that helped me get prepped for fantasy football season because, you think about the value, right? You're taking Aaron Blanchfield, who has potential for 2 divisions. She is more established at this point. She's almost immediately in contention for a title. And then, so I'm like, all right, there's no other women coming up besides the champs who like are in that same situation as Blanchfield. So I was like, all right, I'm going to pick my guys. And then I know exactly who I'm going to take. It's Suarez because she has wins over champions. Give it, albeit they were a couple years ago before she beat cancer. And it's still a little bit of a gamble because the one person she fought was kind of a can, but the potential was there.
So I would
So
I would kind of comp this to like Jameer Gibbs.
oh,
No,
don't.
no, no, no. Hold on. I'm saying Blanchfield would be Jameer, whereas Tatiana would probably be like Devonna Chain from Miami.
Yeah. Yes.
You got sneaky value on yours. They'll probably both end up being running back 1, but I took mine way higher because of the kind of the
Because it was
receiving
more
and
certain.
running. Right.
It was more
So
certain.
yeah, so like that's kind of what I'm looking at there because yeah, you kind of got Tatiana from the bargain bin, and it's turning out very well.
Yeah. I'm definitely feeling myself a little bit on that one, but
You shouldn't have brought up fantasy football. That was
well, the thing is, I have all my drafts in like the next 2 weeks, so I'm grinding that like research and stuff like that. So it's
I mean, I told you about my trading.
yeah.
I yeah, that I've moved from for those on that are listening now. I moved from pick 7 to pick 1 to pick 3 by trading because we do a snake draft and we have tradable picks. So, I'm having the time of my life right now.
Yeah. More power to you, dude.
It's a great.
I'm not big on trading picks just because it can get, first off, math is not my strong suit. Thinking about positional value and stuff like that, you know, it confuses me a little bit.
Dude,
It's a little too it's a little too much for my brain to handle. But
try grading out positional value in my league, dude.
yeah. Oh my God. I don't even want to talk about your league, dude. It's so whack. It's that is that is, that is the craziest shit ever.
My league is incredible.
It's I'm sure it's a lot of fun.
I told you we don't
If
have a defense anymore, right?
you did.
Okay, that we're 4 defensive players.
Yeah, like 2 quarterbacks. So if you play fantasy football, don't be like Jackson. That's just
What are you talking about?
it's dude, it's so dumb. I'm sorry.
They give
It
you
is
all these
for
options. They give
oh
you
my
all
God.
these options to make your league cool and unique to you, so you're not just copy pasting off of whoever Matt Berry or whoever's pro insight. But you leave it this white bread, peanut butter and jelly sandwich of a league. Put some bananas on there, man. Have some fun with it.
I'm a fantasy football purist, Jackson.
I don't,
I
I don't know about
I'm
all
just a
that.
purist. But
I mean, I think you're just tame. I think it's just kind of a
no.
tame vanilla. There we go. You're a vanilla fantasy football player.
But in fairness, I also play in like 4 leagues, and that is
Yes.
your one and only.
No, I have two,
So I oh, you have 2. You have
but
2.
they're both dual quarterback.
So like I have a little more I have more teams to worry about, so I need it simplified a little bit. I can't be thinking about defensive players. But we got really
Yeah,
we
we're
got
not a
super off
fantasy football
track on
pod.
fantasy football.
We're definitely
The
not a
bottom
fantasy
line
football.
is Tatiana Suarez has put herself in potential title contention after this weekend. Like she could reasonably be the next up at strawweight, and I don't think anyone would be surprised. I think there's maybe Yan Xiaonan is I think she's really the only competition that Suarez has, but who knows?
Yeah, it's gonna be fun regardless. I'm invested in seeing what happens with her moving forward. Um, okay, the next fight sucked. Just
Yeah.
I mean, just to be brutally honest, it was a very boring affair. Corey Sandhagen beat Rob Font like we expected, but it was just mind bending.
Yeah. Well, I after the fact when Corey said he like tore his triceps or something, I'm not upset about it. Obviously, you want to see, especially with a guy like Corey Sandhagen and a guy like Rob Font, you expect that to be a high level striking battle. So in that aspect, it was disappointing because it wasn't what I was expecting to see. But from a strategic standpoint and execution of game plan, it was pretty masterful by Corey Sandhagen, especially when you consider the injury that he was up against going into this fight. So yeah, it wasn't what we thought it was going to be, but it was still a really intelligent performance by Corey Sandhagen.
To me, that was kind of what I think, if done right, that's what Rose and Pat Barry thought that they were doing versus Carla too. Like genuinely.
Yeah.
Like that's what
Except
like
that
in
they
their
weren't doing anything. That was
right.
just
But in their head, they were doing the Corey performance with a torn tricep or whatever it is. Like they were just like, oh, this is it's working out perfect. But not to get too far into that. That's just what that reminded me of whenever I was watching it.
mhm.
And then the last fight here, the main event from this past Saturday, Luque, props,
Yeah.
all
Well,
the props in the world.
so I don't know how I don't know how, but I had no idea that Luque was suffering from like brain bleeds
Yeah,
and that's why he was out. I don't know how that missed me or whatever, but when I saw the post-fight interview, he was talking about what he went through and I had no idea. So I looked on Twitter and everyone was like, "Yeah, Luque suffered brain bleeds like last year. That's why people didn't think he would come back." That is holy shit, that is scary.
yeah. So I'd heard about it whenever this fight got announced, uh,
Okay.
but I hadn't known before. So it was kind of in the back of my head. And then I saw it again on Twitter right before it happened. And I was like, oh, it's like, yeah. But like, it was one of those weird things that like it wasn't really talked about, despite the fact that Luque is like a pretty prominent name.
Yeah.
But to come back, get the win, it was just, I mean, it was just special.
Yeah, and in the fact that he was able to out wrestle RDA is pretty pretty damn impressive. I think he took him down 8 times, 9 times. He had a
That's
lot
right.
of takedowns in that fight.
I think it was seven
And
or eight. I mean, it was a lot.
as impressive as that is, I think it also shows that RDA should probably stop fighting at welterweight.
Yes.
I know he's at the back end of his career and he's not really going to be in title contention in either weight class, but for a guy like RDA who's a legend, I'd like to see him continue to win fights where he
Yeah.
can. And to me, welterweight is not the place to do it.
No. So he Luque, sorry, Luque went 8 for 11 on his takedowns
Mm-hmm.
against RDA, which is unheard of. So
Yeah,
just coming
it's
back and being in that kind of form, what a performance!
yeah. I'm excited to see a revamped. Hopefully, this means a revitalized, revamped wrestling game for Luque, who's already dangerous in his own right on the ground. But if you're doing that to a guy like RDA, it'll be interesting to see what he can do against some of the bigger and high ranked welterweights out there because he's one of the most exciting fighters to watch, I would say, in the entire promotion.
Yeah, by far. I mean, he's definitely one of those that just whenever they're on, it's going to be a good time. So, just to have him back is a blessing. Hopefully, everything keeps on being fine, and we get more awesome, incredibly fun fights from Luque.
Absolutely.
So we've got well, how many do we have in this one? 7.
I think we have 7 because we have 4 main because at the time we're recording, we still don't know what the fifth main is going to be after Cody Garbrandt pulled out. So we have 4 main. We have the Weidman on prelims as of now,
Yeah.
and
Hubbard and
Hubbard, right. So
so
yeah, we
yeah,
do have 7.
7.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. And the first one we'll start with is should be a pretty quick one for us because I think we're both pretty set in stone about Karine Silva. She's going up against Marina Moroz.
Yeah.
Is
So
the Y in there messed with me?
it's all the she's like Ukrainian, I think. Some of those names are just very difficult to pronounce, but I think you got it. You got that pretty well from what I gather.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
But
Yeah, go ahead.
so yeah, I was just gonna say Karina Silva is quickly becoming one of my favorite UFC fighters because she is just a complete badass. 16 wins, 16 finishes, and that is really like unheard of for a female fighter. That sort of finishing ability. Like, yeah, I like she is gonna become, I mean, I think she already might be must-see TV. And really good way to open up the card. Interestingly, these two did fight back in 2014
Okay.
with Moroz submitting Carini by an armbar. So, and this was obviously way like not in the UFC. So I just thought that was a fun little factoid for you. But
A fun little tidbit.
yeah, but I think that things have changed tremendously since then. Obviously, it's been 9 years. I think Silva was 20 or 21 years old when that fight happened. She's now 29 and is riding a 7-fight win streak. Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds
7-fight win streak, undefeated in the UFC, 2 first-round finishes in the UFC. So I anticipate, and this is, with respect to Moroz, she's beat some good fighters. She's beaten Bueno Silva. She's been in there with Carla Esparza. She's beaten Joanne Calderwood when she was still like good.
when she was still Calderwood instead of Joanne Wood.
Instead of Joanne Wood, yeah. So like she's been in there with some good fighters. But God, with the way Silva is looking right now, I don't see a way that she doesn't win this fight. I'm super excited for it.
I will say I am very interested in the dynamic of somebody who's never been finished versus Silva.
Yeah.
Because Moroz has only lost by decision.
Yep.
That is very interesting to me, but I think Silva's good enough on the ground and her hands are so clear of Moroz that
She's got pop.
I think we get the first blemish in the finish category for Moroz. I think we get a KO TKO finish there.
Listen, one streak is gonna have to die. It's either Silva doesn't get a finish or
Moroz gets
oh my
finished.
God. Or Moroz gets finished. Yeah.
I think it's Moroz getting finished. I guess if Silva lost,
Moroz could win the fight, I guess too.
Yeah, but I'm not subscribing to that belief. I give me Silva, and I kind of think it'll be early because, like you said, they fought previously. A little bit more retribution, a little bit more. Hey, look who's here.
Yeah.
And
9 years to get back on a loss is a lot of time. So
yeah, but I'm about to say you get to stew over it, especially like as young as you are.
So that's going to be
my logic.
I'm pretty excited to watch Karina Silva fight because I was really put on to her in her last fight, which I remember texting you about, and I was like, holy shit, this girl has finished everyone she's fought, and then she went out and beat the crap out of whoever she was fighting. I don't either.
out of random fighter 3.
Yeah. But no, I'm pretty excited. She is very quickly becoming one of my favorite fighters to watch. So
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I'm right there with you. So I ended up having to rewatch that fight you were talking about because I didn't see it live. But
Hmm.
this one I should be able to see live because now I don't work
Yeah.
weekends. So I'll be able to actually get on the actual hype train here. Um,
Yeah. So actually, funny enough, so this weekend I'm gonna be up in Yellowstone. And
ooh,
so my big fear is that we're not gonna have enough cell service at the campsite where where I can't come back and watch the UFC card. So I'm
you're
like,
like camping?
yeah, oh yeah, it's gritty.
Who are you?
Dude, camping's fun, man.
I would not have
It's
pictured you as a camper.
Dude, I grew up in Michigan, man. That's what we do. We go up north, we camp,
All
we
I know about
we
Michigan is
go on
Wolverines and Kid
boats.
Rock. So
Well,
I'm
that's Eminem. Come on.
oh sorry, yeah. I forget Detroit is in your state. Being like dead serious. Like Detroit in my mind is its own entity.
Well,
But
it's
regardless.
not. It's
Yeah.
in Michigan. But
Yes.
no, dude, I've grown up camping. Like I love it. So I'm pretty excited to get up to Yellowstone for that. But that's
Well,
that's neither here nor there. I was saying I'm hopeful that I'll that I'll have the chance to watch these fights while I'm in the middle of Yellowstone. So we'll see. But now
thoughts and
we'll
prayers for your cell service.
yes. Yeah, that's
I
what I've been waking up in the morning and being first thought is like say a prayer, cell service at the campground.
oh well, so this next fight that we have on this card is one of those that like we wouldn't talk about. We really
No.
would.
No.
But obviously, we have been following along with Tough all season. So we are going to talk about it. Austin Hubbard, Kurt Hollabaugh. I think the UFC wants Hubbard to win. I think Hubbard is comfortably the better fighter.
Yeah.
Hollabaugh just has way more grit than anybody else this season, and it's gotten him a long way. Um, he's got a lot of anger to him. But I could definitely see this being a situation where they end up giving both guys a contract.
Yeah, it could be. I think with this sort of veteran rookie or prospect situation they had going on, it kind of lended itself towards a couple, especially veterans, getting contracts because they already had UFC experience. So hopefully both guys get it. I think we kind of alluded to it earlier when we were talking about this, that I think we both expect Austin to win this fight
Yes.
because he's looked the part as a tough champion, as the more dominant fighter. Every time he's been out there, Kurt has had to kind of sneak his way into a victory. And against another veteran, I don't see that happening.
Well, and we talked about it the last episode we recorded. Whoever won in Roe versus Austin was
Yeah.
going to be the winner. I think you could just hand out contracts to all the semifinalists from this year. I think Jason Knight would be good. I think Roe would be good. Austin would be good. Kurt, honestly, in my personal opinion, would be the least fulfilling fighter to give a contract as far as
Yeah.
what you would expect for the contract, but he's in the finals and like dude has at least earned it.
Mhm.
I just think Hubbard, I don't know that I expect to finish because I could see Kurt fighting like hell to just stay alive. But I think Austin goes out there and UDs it and calls it a day.
Yeah, if you give contracts to the other semifinalists, you can't justify not giving Kerr a contract. You
Yes.
know,
I
so
mean, unless he goes out there and just absolutely embarrasses himself in this fight, in which case maybe. But I still think it would need to be Rowe and Austin. I don't think you can give Knight a contract right there.
yeah, I,
Um,
I agree with that.
yeah.
So
The next fight is, I mean, it's been a while since we've seen Chris Weidman.
I'm very very excited about this one. For those who don't know the story of Chris Weidman, I know, and we might have talked about it when this fight was announced a little bit, but if you're still kind of out out of the loop and wondering why this fight in particular is so momentous. Chris Weidman first was the guy to beat Anderson Silva to
Yep.
end the longest title reign, I believe, in UFC history. Not didn't beat him once, beat him twice, back-to-back fights. So what was the UFC middleweight champion, took out Anderson Silva. And then after his title reign ended, he ended up fighting Uriah Hall, I want to say almost 2 years ago to the day, right?
Yeah,
August of 21.
it's been a while.
But like within the first 30 seconds, I want to say, threw a leg kick, Hall checked it, and his leg shattered.
Snap.
Yeah. So he's been working his way back for the last 2 years, rehabbing his leg, and now he's finally back in the octagon fighting Brad Tavares.
Mm-hmm.
And so just the fact that Chris Weidman was even able to make it back to this point is already a victory.
Right.
You know?
I 100% agree. And I definitely think this is a situation where it is for the achievement, because I do have Weidman winning. But I will say I think this fight is literally just whoever's chin gives out first.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a slugfest.
Yeah, Brad Tavares is definitely no slouch for
No.
sure. So it's going to be a tough fight. Weidman's a 2-1 underdog.
Should be. He definitely
Yeah,
should be. I mean,
yeah,
compromised
because
leg out of the octagon for 2 years. But I just I don't know. I feel like if you can come back from that and be back in the octagon, you're not gonna get stopped in your return home.
yeah, and Weidman's a former champ. Like
Yes.
he has fought at the highest level in the sport. Like I think that plays into this fight, this return fight, the mentality, the championship mentality and all that. And Weidman's a wrestler, so I think he's gonna go to that, especially to kind of limit the damage on his leg.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just tough to deal with. So I think I don't know if it'll be a finish, but I think Weidman wrestles his way to a decision victory over Tavares in his return to kind of work his way back.
See, I really just don't think the wrestling. I don't know. Like, I know he'll definitely want to keep the leg protected, but I'm kind of worried about like what his leg strength is going to be like while trying to drive the takedown.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think he'll actually adopt more of a stand-up approach in this fight, and I could see it being like a ground and pound kind of win over Tavares after like maybe knocking him down on the feet. Because I don't know what that comfortability in that leg is, so I'm kind of staying away from that.
I just don't know if that's a winning strategy against Tavares because that dude hits hard.
Probably not. It's probably not a winning strategy, but that's just such a risky game to play.
Yeah.
Like, and this thought process is showing you like if Weidman, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. If Weidman wasn't coming back from that injury and it had just been 2 years since we'd seen him, I'd be taking Tavares.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the atmosphere in the arena is going to propel him to win.
For sure. I
And
think that definitely plays a role,
yeah,
but at the I still think it's a skill set and a stylistic advantage for Weidman to go to his base, which is wrestling, which will probably be effective if he can implement it against Brad Tavares.
yeah, no, I agree. I just his actual game plan sketches me out, but I do think he'll win. I just don't really have the answers for it.
Yeah.
This next fight, Cheeto Vera versus Pedro Munoz. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Cheeto lost a lot of stock after his Sandhagen loss. I think he reintroduces himself in a big way, kind of being like, I'm not gone. I just had a bad fight, and KO's Pedro Munoz.
Yeah, this is a good this is a good bounce back matchup for Cheeto Vera. And I think with the way both guys start, because both guys are kind of like, the first round, they're going to feel each other out. I don't anticipate either guy kind of going forward and attacking. And that's where Cheeto gets himself in trouble, is when he takes too long to kind of get started.
Yeah.
And he's down on the scorecards. I think this is still an opportunity for Cheeto to win the first round, because Munoz kind of does the same thing. So, but later in the fight, I think it's gonna be Cheeto, because he's got so much power, and Munoz doesn't. Truthfully, Munoz
No.
is definitely more of a volume striker, and
And
Cheeto.
I like watching Pedro. He's a fun fight to watch. I just don't know. Like, I think Cheeto's actually going to have some kind of fire stoked. Kind of
Mhm,
like against Dom.
yeah,
I think it's going to be kind of a similar situation because it didn't really take him all that long to warm up against Dom.
no,
Not like it did against Corey. So I think he'll come out of the gate a little bit warmer. He'll get to that point a little bit quicker, and I think he'll finish Pedro.
interesting. I
That's
I don't know if it'll be a finish. Well,
you think it might dry out?
I think it could draw out. Pedro's a tough guy. He's a
He
tough guy
is.
to put out. So I think I wouldn't be surprised. I would guess it would, if there was a finish, it would be in the third round. I don't think it'll be earlier than that.
I'd probably agree. Maybe second or late second, third, somewhere in there. I don't. I think probably TKO, but I think he needs like a definitive something to kind of repair kind of what was lost against Corey.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
but this next one, I feel like we've talked about this fight quite a bit. Just because this was the call out he made after his last fight, and it looked kind of shaky. It looked like we might have gotten Wonder Boy versus Ian Gary at a certain point in
Yeah.
time. We revert back to Ian Gary versus Neil Magny. I think it's a decision win. I don't even think he puts Neil out.
I it's The thing is, Neil's fighting style is so doesn't lend itself to finishes,
No.
because he just wears on you. But you've seen Shavkat finish him. You've seen these guys who are supposed to be stars in this division finish Neil Magny. And so I think this will be a good test for Ian Gary to see if he can put him out of there, if he can get him out of the cage. And I think he's going to do it. I was out on Ian Gary in his fight against D-Rod. He proved me wrong, and now I'm fully back on this hype train.
So
I think he's getting better.
see, I think which is kind of funny because like obviously it was the reverse not too long ago where I was still very much on the Ian hype train. And I am to a certain extent, but I don't think he's on that. I don't think he's on the level of finish Neil Magny right now. I don't. I think it's a good fight for him to take. I think it's a good test. I think he'll win it, but I don't think he's going to get Neil out of there. I
I
think
don't
he's.
like how Neil. I don't like how Neil looked in his last fight.
I don't either.
God, who did he even fight? It was not. It was not a ranked guy. He was
No.
unranked, and Neil didn't look very good. So that gives me some confidence that Ian should
Oh,
be
Phil
able to.
Bro.
Phil Bro, yeah, and that was a snoozer. I mean,
Yeah.
that was not an enjoyable fight to watch. So
No, not by any stretch of the imagination. But I would still like to. I don't know. I just don't think. I think Ian's still got a ways to go. I think D Rod was kind of a step lower than he needed to be at that point. I think Neil's probably right at the level he needs to be, but I don't think it's a finish.
yeah, well, we'll see. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get Jeff Neal instead of Magny, but
Yeah, that would have been a
it is
lot
what it
more
is.
fun.
That's kind of emblematic of this whole card, where it's supposed to be really sick, and then people started dropping like flies left and right. It's still good, but
It's
I've
not
I've been
great.
hyping up this card for so long,
And the fact that
and
we only had
and
seven
watching
fights
it,
from it,
huh?
and then we only end up with seven fights from it.
Yeah, watching it fall apart has been pretty disappointing for me, but.
All right.
I think, yeah, Ian Gary, we both think he's gonna win. Might be in different ways, but either way, he'll elevate himself in the rankings. Now we'll get into the first of two title fights. This one I honestly don't think we need to spend much time on
Nope.
either. because I don't really think Amanda Lemos has any sort of shot against Weili.
I don't think anybody in this division besides Rose, if she was 100% mentally there and had a good game plan, and that's only because of the mental aspect she has over Weili, I don't think anybody in this division is contending with her as champion right now.
Suarez.
Right now, I don't agree. Give Suarez an eliminator versus Yan Xiaonan. If she does what she's supposed to there, then maybe. But I think as of right now, I think Weili, I don't think Weili would destroy Suarez, but I think Weili would very comfortably win over Suarez.
Well, Weili had trouble wrestling with Rose, and Suarez, I imagine, is a better wrestler than Rose. So, but
Probably.
that's me vouching for my fighter.
But and
she's fighting Lemos.
Well, and we did just watch Weili, handle comfortably Esparza.
Yes.
Who is a very proficient ground wrestler. So it might not even come down to wrestling with them. It might just be stopping it and stomping them out.
That's true.
So that's at least that. But I think this is Weili's division for at least another 2 fights.
Yeah.
And Tatiana is probably about it.
Weili is truly terrifying.
Yes.
She is.
She's gotten back into that robot mode that she was in before Thug head kick KO'd her.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in and of itself like a miracle. That was a Hail Mary. I think we're right back to where we started, and I don't think there's a Thug Rose head kick around the corner right now.
No, especially not with Lemos, who is pretty one-dimensional. I don't want to say one-dimensional. She's got a lot of good striking techniques and abilities in her arsenal, but I think this could be where Weili deploys some strong grappling and gives Lemos problems there. Obviously, she's a very strong striker too, and it could end up being a striking battle. But I think it'll be an easier night for her if she goes to the wrestling.
She's been working with Cejudo. Let's see how it's been paying off.
Yeah.
That's
Cejudo. Listen, say what you want about Henry Cejudo. That guy has trained fighters really well.
Yes. He's a good coach.
Yeah.
He's a good coach. And they're like, I don't personally like him, but I don't figure I'd hang out with what's his name? The most famous cornerman. Justin Gaethje, Rose.
Trevor Whitman.
I don't know. Dude, Weidman was the only thing I could get in my head instead of Whitman. I don't think I'd hang out with Trevor Whitman, but I can say he's a good coach.
Yeah.
He seems like
he's
a strange
just a psychopath.
Human. Yes, he seems like a strange human being, but I can still think he's good. That's where I'm at with Cejudo.
Yeah.
Okay, Alex.
So yeah, speaking of Cejudo, the guy who beat him last, you are a sicko for this pick, by the way. I cannot believe you are doing this. But Aljamain Sterling is fighting not Henry Cejudo. He's fighting Sean O'Malley for the bantamweight title in what I think a lot of people believe to be his last fight at bantamweight. Any person with half a brain thinks that Aljamain Sterling is going to win this fight. That includes myself. Jackson's just messed up in the head. I don't know.
Dude, listen. We had this same talk. We had this same general tone whenever Sean fought Piotr. And I understand that you thought Piotr won. That's fine. It was a close enough fight that is okay. But it was a very close fight. So to say Sean's out of his depth in this fight right now, I don't agree. I think he's going to win this fight. I think he's going to knock Aljo out. Genuinely.
Dude, Sean got tossed around by a ragdoll by Piotr Jan, bro.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what Aljo is going to do to him? You don't get that much better at defending takedowns in a span of a year.
You don't.
10 months.
But if you can make up the gap to allow a similar amount that Piotr got to you, you won that fight. I mean, or at least he was close enough on the scorecard to where you can argue that he won that fight. Can we at least agree on that?
It was. No, I'm not disagreeing with that. I still think Piotr won, but I
So
understand that a split decision was the right call. I think it
yeah,
was the wrong it went to the wrong guy. But the level of grappling between Piotr Jan and Aljamain Sterling is miles wide. Sterling is one of the best grapplers in the UFC.
yes,
Period.
I agree.
Piotr Jan is a boxer who threw Sean O'Malley around
Don't
wrestling.
say it like that. Piotr's good on the ground.
He's good, but Piotr Jan is not. That's not his mo.
No, it's not. But it had to be his MO. So that whole because Sean is like 3 feet taller than him. That's
That's also a problem is that Sean is so tall that it's easier to take him down.
yeah, but he also has that leverage and he has the ability to keep more space. That's what I'm banking on in this fight. Sean O'Malley keeping space. I think that the arena is going to be behind Sean, which, regardless of whether or not you think that plays into it, I personally subscribe to the belief that if people are in your corner, it's a lot easier to manage that because it's going to get in your opponent's head in a big way. That arena is going to be the sugar show. It is.
But Aljo is used to being the villain. He's used to being the bad guy every time he goes out to fight.
I don't know about that. I think it was pretty split with him and Cejudo because most people don't like
Well,
Cejudo. It was
I
really just the
mean,
first Yan fight or the second Yan fight, rather.
that was the battle of cringe. Well, no, after so who'd he fight after Piotr the second time? He fought was that TJ?
Yeah.
People were on TJ Dillashaw's side over Aljamain Sterling. TJ Dillashaw, the CEO of EPO,
Yes.
was the crowd favorite against Aljamain Sterling.
So to recap, we'll call it 3 fights. Actually, no, we're going to call it 2 because the Battle of the Cringe was not anybody having the crowd advantage. So you had Piotr, who after he tried to knee your face off, looked kind of out of his depth against Aljo. Fight number 2, Aljo looked like clearly the better fighter.
Clearly is questionable.
Okay.
He won the fight.
Yes. He won the fight and he came in with a better game plan. It wasn't that hard. It wasn't nearly as hard as it would have been in the first fight. TJ, he's the villain against a guy who has no shoulder. So it's not a
People
hard
didn't know
fight.
that.
No, I know, but 30 seconds into the fight, we knew.
Yeah.
So getting booed, it's like this. I mean, he can only hit me with one hand. And then Cejudo, which I don't think is very split up. The point I'm making, one of those fights was difficult. Sean O'Malley is the most difficult fight, in my opinion, on that slate. And he's going to have the full crowd against him. I fully believe that Sean O'Malley is going to win this fight. I love the distance game. He'll get taken down a couple times. He'll get taken down in the second, and then it'll get nasty, I think. But I think the first round he can keep it. He can keep it clean, essentially, and stay up and keep that distance. Aljo will crash him a little bit in the second. And then I think in the third, or maybe even the fourth, we'll start to get a little bit of a wobbly Aljo. And he'll go down at some point.
You're a sicko, dude.
That's fine.
And listen, I'm saying this because I do like Sean O'Malley, and I actually he's good for the sport. But I think it's been clear across this podcast that I'm not a huge fan of Aljo. I think I've picked against him in both fights that he's fought in. But this one just seems like a layup to me, dude. Aljo is so good on the ground, and Sean is tall and struggles with takedown defense. I expect a submission for Aljamain Sterling on Saturday.
Hey, do your thing. I feel this is the best I felt about of title fight. Well, no, because I feel better about the other title fight on this card. I don't know. This is the best I felt about a bantamweight title fight in a while. I'm trying to think. Probably since Piotr versus Aljo 1. This is the most comfortable I am with my pick.
More power to you, dude. That's all I gotta say.
Hey, and the last time we did like an actual full card, I got a clean sweep. So maybe I'll
Oh,
continue some kind of momentum. But do you have anything else for this episode?
I'm all set.
All right. We'll see if I got embarrassed or not here in about a week.
Yeah, well, I'll be embarrassed too because I was laughing at you to start this pick. So it's
Yeah,
gonna
you did
be
say everybody with
one.
half a brain
Yeah,
was picking Aljo, but hey,
yeah.
the folks with full
One
brains
of
are
us is
picking
gonna look
Sean.
like a moron next week. So there we go.
Can't wait to see who it is, man.
All right. Peace.
Peace.